In this picture we have the parts of the semi-dissectible electrical machine kit. Here in this picture we have some important components of the motor shown, which include the carbon brush holder, the bearing, the commutator and the aluminium brake drum mounted on the motor shaft. We have part number 1, which is the stator of the DC shunt motor, and part number 3, the rotor of the DC shunt motor with the aluminium brake drum. You notice the carbon brush holders. Kindly pull out the carbon brushes from the holders to keep them in the position as shown. This will prevent damage to the brushes while inserting the rotor. Make sure the bearing surface is clean. If not, then clean it before beginning the assembly. If the bearing is dry, kindly grease it to ensure smooth and damage-free running. Once that is done, the rotor is ready to be inserted. Insert the rotor as shown. Make sure there are no leads obstructing the path through which the rotor is inserted. Match the bolts provided to the holes in the stator and affix the two parts using the bolts along with the spring washers. Now tighten the bolts using the spanner provided. All bolts should be tightened equally and together. Now rotate the rotor by hand. It should rotate freely. If not, then kindly disassemble the parts and repeat the rotor insertion process carefully. Now release the carbon brushes from their present arrangement as shown, such that they rest on the surface of the commutator. Ensure the tension in the holder lever is as required. The assembly is now completed. Kindly note, in this case, the bearing used is of the tapered roller type. However, the regular ball bearing type bearings can be provided instead. On the brake loading arrangement, we can see that there are two hand wheels which are used to control the linear scales upon which a friction belt is attached. We have a loading base onto which the motor is fixed. Kindly place the motor on the loading base as shown. Fix the motor to the base using the bolts, nuts and washers, but do not tighten the bolts at this stage. From the front view of the motor, make sure that the aluminium drum is in the center of the two scales. Fix the friction belt as shown. If required, loosen the belt using the wheels provided so as to rest the belt on the drum. Using two scales together, check the distances as shown. Adjust the position of the motor such that all four distances are equal. Do not proceed to the next step if this has not been achieved. This setting ensures that the friction belt rests in the center of the drum surface. The bolts can now be tightened. Kindly tighten any pair of bolts that are diagonally opposite to each other. On tightening one pair, kindly proceed to tighten the other pair. Now check the rigidity of the motor. It should be rigidly fixed to the base. If not, then check the bolts and tighten again. Kindly remove all electrical connections from the motor before beginning the dismantling process. Lift the carbon brushes from their holders and position them as shown. Now using a spanner, loosen all bolts together. Remove the bolts completely. Now pull out the rotor, applying a little force along the axis of the motor as shown. Please take care of the bearing while pulling out the rotor. To prevent damage to the bearing and commutator, kindly rest them on a piece of thermocol, sponge, or any soft material if possible.